I mean, literally, they're against Charlie Kirk. They literally want Charlie Kirk's murderer to get off scot-free.
Uh-oh. The ATF ballistics expert who was brought in to match the bullet and found inside Charlie to the magical 30-06, he was unable to do so. So yes, now the bullet doesn't match the rifle. Okay. This is what happens when you fly in, spend a couple hours at the crime scene, and then immediately wrap everything up within 40 hours and stamp case closed, and then block Joe Kent and Tulsi Gabbard from the National Counterterrorism Center from looking into foreign involvement, and then also blocking the CIA.
You're doing well, right? Okay. I think you should sue them, but, you know, I told her, you ought to sue somebody. They're so jealous of Erica. I said, you ought to sue their... I can say it, you're not allowed to say this, you have to be nicer. Sue their ass off.
Before we get to this, I want to talk about Tatum's store just real quick. I want you guys to know there's some other cool designs that are coming out, and you need to go on and get it. I'm going to talk to the staff about, possibly doing free shipping. You probably can't do the 20% off and free shipping at the same time. You may got to pick which one you want to do. But I'm thinking about doing free shipping or something because I don't want it to be a barrier, a financial barrier for some of you guys within reason to not buy the product. So go to tatumstore.com, be on the lookout for the new merch that's coming out. We'll see if we're going to launch the I Support Erica Kirk shirt. I already have the shirt. I just don't know if I want to launch it. I want to get with Erica to make sure that, we can send proceeds from the shirt to something that she's into and that she wants to go to. So, because I don't want to just be doing it and then everybody complain about, Brandon, you made the money off of it. And no, we will work with her to get it to where she wanted to go. So we'll make a survey. I want to hear from you guys. If you are thinking to yourself that there's no way that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, it's all a setup, it's all conspiratorial, I'm going to just give you a different perspective. I'm not telling you to believe me or not believe me. I could not care less, to be honest. I want to give you a different perspective so you can be informed and use your mind. Because I think people are putting out so much disinformation that people who are genuinely seeking the truth can't find it. All right, let's get to this first clip. This guy was a Green Beret. Shout out to his service. But this guy is one of the weirdest, most disingenuous people on the internet. I started following him when he was going after Kennedy because he had stolen valor, and this guy seemed solid. He seemed like a veteran who had his stuff together, and I really enjoyed his content. Then he molded into a complete Jew-hating, Israel-hating, conspiracy. He believed in every conspiracy. Everybody's, he just turned, dude, and I expect better from him. So now he's made the show. I'm going to play his alleged synopsis of the 30-06 and all of these other things, and I'm going to debunk them with logic, common sense, and practicality so that you don't listen to this fool and then you get tricked and confused. All right? So let's roll it. First clip.
Breaking news coming out of the Charlie Kirk story last night, and it turns out, and I know this is going to shock you to your absolute core, that
listen.
The ATF ballistics expert who was brought in to match the bullet and found inside Charlie to the magical 30-06, he was unable to do so. So yes, now the bullet doesn't match the rifle. Okay. It's almost like somebody told you guys that from, 24 hours after the assassination attempt? Crazy. And to make matters even worse for the prosecution, it sounds like there's upwards of 7 different people's DNA on the magic 30-06.
Time out. Think of this. Think about this for a minute. He knows better. You think he would know better. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's never done an investigation. There's a difference between a round being inconclusive and a round not matching the weapon. And it's funny how he conflates. And this is the problem that a lot of these people are getting involved in. They're conflating, although they've read these articles, I'm sure, and they know that there's a difference between not matching and being inconclusive. So you did not say this right after the shooting. You have made a projection based on the round being the 30-06. But the ATF has come in and said they were unable to conclusively identify the round with any weapon because it's too fragmented. So there's no evidence that it didn't come from the gun, and there's no evidence that it did come from the gun because of this. It's inconclusive. So that doesn't rule out the fact that it could have been shot from the 30-06 rifle. And then when you go and you use the lack thereof common sense and say there was multiple DNA on the 30-06, and I'm assuming he means the rifle. Well, anybody with common sense, including himself, would know that multiple DNA, it to me is an indication of more of an authentic item of evidence versus if you got one and only had one fingerprint on it. There is nothing that you own that don't have more DNA on it than your own DNA. The keys to your car. Multiple people have touched your car keys. Your kids touched them. Your wife touched them. You've touched them. Valet touched them. You name it, there's multiple people that have touched your car keys. You go down the list. Your credit card. There's multiple people that have touched your credit card, especially your gun. Multiple people have touched my gun. And it's because my wife, sometimes she takes my gun, or we go to the gun range. When I'm at the gun range, I have a 9mm. Some of the guys, we shoot each other's guns. So I got multiple people's DNA on my gun. So if I shot somebody today and somebody recovered my gun, you're going to see multiple DNA strands. If I saw one DNA, that's a problem. Because that means I cleaned the gun and then I touched it, or somebody staging something. Finish the clip.
So, yikes. Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps the channel. Follow us on Patreon. Grab some America First merch. Let's jump into it. Let's talk about it. First things first, okay? I hate to toot my own horn on this one, but the amount of people who came out and called me a conspiracy theorist, tinfoil hat, grifter, attacked my credibility because
True.
You guys didn't know. I was pretty much the first one on the internet to stake my claim to the FBI narrative being and the 30-06 weapon. And the 30-06 obviously not being the real murder weapon. And I'll show you that. So I put this video out on September 12th. Yes, less than 24 hours after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, where I staked my claim on the FBI being full of shit and the murder weapon obviously not being the 30-06. Now, I'd love to say that I was some genius guru on this, but it was just the most obvious thing in the world that a 30-06 obviously was not what was used to not create an exit wound from 140 yards away. So
Time out. Now here's the debunking part. Go look this up. Martin Luther King was shot at a similar distance with a 30-06. No exit wound. I'm not saying that it's not questionable. I'm not saying that people shouldn't question it. But what I'm saying is that if you were to act like it's completely impossible for anybody to be shot with a 30-06 at that range and the bullet not go all the way through, then that's history has proven to us that that's not necessarily true. And you don't get to just go out and create a narrative without a substantial counter argument. If you're saying that he did not get shot with the 30-06, which you cannot prove that he did not, there's no other weapon that we have. There's no other suspects that we have. There's no other witnesses to anybody else being involved in this. So if you're going to say that it definitely wasn't a gun, you have to have an alternative. But of course, you don't need to provide an alternative if you want to push conspiracy theories. Roll the clip.
Take a look at the actual story, and then we're going to talk about what comes next, because this was basically the one piece of evidence that the prosecution had to have to be able to convict him, and it doesn't sound like they're going to have it. The lawyers of Tyler Robinson on Friday requested a 6-month delay in a court hearing scheduled in May to review evidence that suggests the bullet that killed Charlie did not match the rifle. Robinson's lawyers wrote in a recent court filing that the ATF was unable to identify the bullet recovered at autopsy to the rifle allegedly tied to Mr. Robinson. They added that the FBI is conducting a second comparative bullet analysis, but neither have been completed. It's going to be real interesting.
Think about this. Just because the ATF couldn't do it don't mean the FBI can't do it. The ATF articulated that the bullet is too fragmented that they cannot conclusively draw a connection. That does not mean the FBI can't do it. So therefore, you're speaking with incomplete evidence. And incomplete evidence, you can't make a declarative statement that it really doesn't match. The Daily Mail created this because they wanted to get clicks. And therefore, they in part articulated a narrative to confuse people like him so he can confuse everybody else. We don't have a solid statement to say that there's no way in the world that this bullet came from the gun. And let me help you guys out with this. When it comes to evidence and circumstantial evidence, you don't need to compare the bullet to the gun for the gun to be the murder weapon. There's other outside evidentiary circumstances that you can utilize to make that gun be the suspect weapon. Let me give you an example. They know based on how the bullet entered his body, the trajectory of the round. They will be able to say that the trajectory was at this angle, at least in this angle range. Where else could it have been? Then you have a suspect admitting to shooting Charlie with the gun. So if a guy says, yeah, I shot him, my parents identify me as the shooter, and everybody at the scene heard the shot, turned and looked at him after he shot Charlie and watching him run away, you got multiple witnesses to identify and put together the full picture. He admitted that he killed Charlie Kirk on electronic communication to his boyfriend, and he must. I would argue he admitted to his parents. That's why they told him to turn himself in. So now you have all that circumstantial evidence that point him to being the shooter, and easily the prosecution can argue that the round is inconclusive, not that the round doesn't match. So what he's saying is not true. I could go on for 100 years, but I got other things I want to talk about. But that's just a synopsis why I'm upset with some of these people online deceiving the public. And they want to be right more so than they want justice for Charlie Kirk. I would not be saying this as a former police officer if I did not believe it. You could say somebody put him up to it. That's a different argument. But the person who pulled the trigger and shot Charlie Kirk was Tyler Robinson. And for everybody else that want to come up with a hypothetical or alternative theory, let me tell you what you're up against. There are people now saying that the FBI planted the gun. How did they get the gun? If you're telling me that the FBI took Tyler Robinson's grandfather's gun to plant it at the scene, that's a stretch. So you're saying they took Tyler Robinson's grandfather's gun and they handled the gun without gloves. So therefore, FBI agents and everybody got fingerprints on the gun. Then they set the gun down and they had his dad call him and ask him about the gun. So now you're saying that his grandfather's involved and also his father's involved to get him convicted for murdering Charlie Kirk. And then you think that the FBI is dumb enough. You're saying that they got a scheme to place the fake gun, but they're not dumb enough to remove the fingerprints from the gun. Or handle the gun with gloves on so their fingerprints are not on the gun. Is that what you're saying? The alternative to what the narrative is bizarre. You're saying people are questioning whether or not the round is. Then you're saying the Office of Medical Examiner is in on it too, which the Office of Medical Examiner don't work for the FBI. These are different agencies. They don't even really communicate with one another. Then you're saying that the federal FBI that's in D.C. is now cross-pollinating with Salt Lake City FBI. And they're all corrupted and they coordinated all of this together. Then you have to ask yourself the question, why? You don't have a why. So don't jump to those conclusions until you get unequivocal evidence.